They're not job creators. They're job gatekeepers. And oftentimes, in Mitt Romney's case in particular as well, they're job killers.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Another one of the ways that they try to obfuscate and try to deploy a defense for Starbucks, and Romney is the one who deployed this one, to insulate these companies from criticism. They'll say that you can't criticize unless you're a job creator. Let's listen to that.
I recognize at the outset there's some irony to a non-coffee drinking Mormon conservative defending a Democrat candidate for president in perhaps one of the most liberal companies in America. That being said, I also think it's somewhat rich that that you're being grilled by people who have never had the opportunity to create a single job. And yet they believe that they know better how to do so, and what's best for the American worker, and what's best for the American economy, what's best for growth.
The idea that, I mean, this also showcases the elitism of, the fact that he's defending this guy at all really showcases the elitism of some of these Republican politicians that, that they can't help themselves. We talked about that. They can't help themselves but come to the defense of a quote-unquote liberal company because it's a company. Well, another way that they showcase their elitism is that they want to silo off from criticism job creators, bosses, executives, companies. They want to silo off from criticism those companies from anybody that is not one of their own. If you're not in this big club, then your complaints or concerns or your voice doesn't matter because you're not a job creator. You're not a job creator. You don't have millions or billions of dollars in the bank. So what you have to say just doesn't matter, little guy. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Because there are workers there. Half of that room was filled up with Starbucks workers. And he was trying to direct it at Sanders, right? That's who he's trying to direct it at. But Sanders isn't the one levying the criticism. Sanders is in some ways an amplification of the criticism, but the criticism is coming from the workers. He didn't pull this out of his ass, right? This came from the workers. He's telling these workers who are in that hearing and all across the country at Starbucks stores and at any other place, if you work for a living, you got to shut your damn mouth because you don't know anything. You got to listen to your betters, listen to people like me who have $1 million and shut your damn mouth. That's what he's telling you. That's what he's telling you. And I also wanted to, the idea, job creator is of course a myth. It's of course a myth because consumers are the ones that create jobs. They can't create a job out of nothing. There has to be something there that created the wealth for the job to be paid for. And that something is consumption and labor, right? And so it's a myth on that ground, but also there's some more deconstruction to do about that term. And I was listening to the Majority Report last week, and Emma Vigeland did a really good job pulling out some stuff from Mitt Romney's past that maybe complicates his perception of himself as a quote-unquote job creator. It's a little bit of a long clip, but I think it's worth it. Let's play that.
They're not job creators. They're job gatekeepers. And oftentimes, in Mitt Romney's case in particular as well, they're job killers. Old article from 2011 by Michael Barbaro from the New York Times, now the Daily guy, wrote about Mitt Romney in the midst of his presidential campaign. By the green-hued yardsticks of Wall Street, the 1990s buyout of an Illinois medical company by Mitt Romney's private equity firm was a spectacular success. Mr. Romney's company, Bain Capital, sent a team of 10 turnaround experts from Boston to ferret out waste, motivate executives, and study untapped markets. By the time the Harvard MBAs from Bain were finished, sales at the medical company Dade International had more than doubled. The business acquired 2 of its rivals, and Mr. Romney's firm collected $242 million, a return 8 times its investment. Whoa, that's a lot of job creation, right? But an examination of the Dade deal, which Mr. Romney approved and presided over, shows the unintended human costs, unintended, human costs and messy financial consequences behind the brand of capitalism that he practiced for 15 years. At Bain Capital's direction, Dade quadrupled the money it owed creditors and vendors. It took steps that propelled the business towards bankruptcy. And in waves of layoffs, it cut loose 1,700 workers in the United States, including Brian and Kristen Shoemaker, who lost their jobs at the plant in Westwood, Massachusetts. Staggered, Mr. Shoemaker wondered, how could the bean counters just come in here and say, hey, it's over? They interview some of the workers that lost their jobs. Bain and a small group of investors bought Dade in 1994 with mostly borrowed money, limiting their risk. They extracted cash from the company at almost every turn, paying themselves nearly $100 million in fees, first for buying the company and then for helping to run it. Later, just after Mr. Romney stepped down from his role, Bain took $242 million out of the business in a transaction that, according to bankruptcy documents and several former Dade officials, weakened the company. Even some people who benefited from the payday and found it reasonable at the time now question it. Essentially, they pushed the company into that bankruptcy. On the campaign trail, Mitt Romney has taken a tough love approach to the economy, suggesting that the best remedy for the housing market was to allow foreclosures to hit the bottom. It was the same approach he took with Bain, as he explained in an interview to the New York Times in 2007 when asked about layoffs at the companies that he bought. Sometimes the medicine is a little bitter, he said, but it is necessary to save the life of a patient. The patient being Bain and all the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're making from this. And it goes on and on. I mean, Bain ended up helping this company, Dade, acquire a company called DuPont, part of a division in DuPont, a diagnostics division in 1996. And another medical testing company. For DuPont, they had a plant in Puerto Rico after Dade, under the direction of Bain Capital, acquired DuPont. It closed its plant in Puerto Rico. All but a few of its nearly 300 workers were laid off. Arsenio Munez Rosado, a 51-year-old father who has spent 23 years at the plant, started out as a groundskeeper, sank into a debilitating depression. Still jobless 6 months after he was let go, he tried to commit suicide with a full bottle of Xanax pills. It was the first of several attempts. Job creators.
Yeah. So, maybe you in the audience have never created a job, but you've probably also not cost 2,000 people their jobs.
Right.
And you've probably not gotten $100 million to do that. I mean, just the idea, just the hubris of that statement. Having that, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have that in the back of his head. But having done that, and then being able to call yourself a job creator. A job creator. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.